Hi guys, welcome to Multiverse. A question that comes back all the time is how do you make money in this universe online? Usually when people ask that questions, pretty much what they expect me to tell them is to give them some sort of magic formula that will give them a whole bunch of cash very quickly. Like let's say press the square 3 times, then press X and you'll have a gajillion dollars. It doesn't work like that. There's no magical formula. Short of hacking the game, there's no way you can make $1 billion in like 5 seconds. It doesn't happen. The only real way to make money in this universe online is to use a little machine next to me. There's also a broker. This is basically the broker. There's also a broker in the. There's various brokers in the Hall of Doom or in the Watchtower, and you can also have a broker in your base. I'll probably make an upcoming video about how you can have a broker in your base. But basically, there's no miracle to that. You have to learn to use a broker, and you have to use a broker. People have been asking me for quite some time, how do you make money in this universe online? And again, the only real answer I have to that is you have to play the broker and you have to sell a whole bunch of items on the broker. Let me just show you. But basically, making this video will be a little boring because I will show you literally how to make money in this universe online, but it will require farming for collections. And but this will be much quicker. So basically, that is how you make money. You can see all the items that I sold. Oh, there's this one I didn't check. So you can see all the items that I sold on the broker. That is how you make money on in this universe online. That there's no magical solution. There's no miracle solution. That is how you make money in this universe online. You farm and farm and farm and sell a whole bunch of collections. And sure, you're going to sell some of them for as little as 5,000 or 10,000, or sometimes as little as 500. It happens. But once you will also sell a whole bunch of them for 350,000 or for 150,000. So believe it or not, or sadly, sometimes you'll sell it for 600. You sell it for whatever you can get for it. Ideally, you want to go someplace where there are valuable collections and you want to be able to sell those collections. Even if you just sell them, let's say you sell them just 100,000 each. Well, if you sell, as you can see, I sold a lot of collections. How did I do that? There's no miracle solution. You have to farm and farm and farm, gather collections, gather valuable items, and sell those items in the broker, and it adds up. And that's how you can get money in this universe online by selling a whole bunch of items, sometimes some for very little money, sometimes some for a little more money, but you have to farm for your collections and you have to sell them. It's as simple as that. You have to use a broker. Again, if you sell collections for like 90,000, 90,000 is not that much money, but when you're going to farm and farm and farm for collections, you are going to be selling not just one or five or 10 collections. You're going to be selling 50 collections, 100 collections, 200 collections. Well, that adds up. 90,000 times 200. Do the math, and that's how much money you can get by playing the broker. But you have to play the broker. You have to be willing. There was a bit of freeze there. You have to be willing to play the broker. Again, yes, there's a whole bunch of crap that you're going to gather that you can only sell for $500, $900. It happens. But there are valuable items that you can sell for 10,000, 300,000, 100,000. So again, it adds up. If you don't think that you're going to farm and just find one collection and sell that one collection for $100 million. It doesn't happen unless you're really, really, really lucky. That doesn't happen. As a rule of thumb, what happens is that you farm and farm and farm for a lot of collections, sell those collections on the broker, and you sell a lot of those collections, and that is how you can gather some money. I'll show you an example. It's an example that I've showed quite some time ago, but it's worth repeating, I guess. So for that, we're going to go to Metropolis. This is pretty much my favorite spot where I go to farm. I will show probably other spots, but this is the most obvious example that I can think of. But again, I know that a lot of you you're pretty much just expecting me to tell you that click the X button 3 times and click your heels and you'll get $1 billion. Doesn't work like that. The only way to really make money in this universe online is to use a broker and is to sell a whole bunch of items on the broker. That is how you manage to make and accumulate 10 millions, 100 millions. That is how it works. You have to use a broker, and if you want to have a lot of money, you have to use it a lot. Ideally, what you want to do, you want to learn a route where you're going to be able to farm for collections. At first, it may not be that self-evident. And also nowadays, what you can also do while you farm for collections, you can also farm for nth metal. And that's probably another thing. Don't just farm for collections. Farm for whatever you can. If you see exhibits, gather exhibits. If you can get nth metal, get nth metal. Ideally, you're going to want to multitask. You're going to want to get nth metal. You're going to want to get the collections, and you're going to want to get exhibits. And sadly, for the collections, there's no magical formula. You have to look for them. Originally, if you don't know where the collections actually appears, you can either randomly fly through the city, or what you could do is that you could use a few radar enhancers. Radar enhancers will help you see where the collections are. So you could use a few radar enhancers and look for those collections. You do that a couple of times in one area, and after doing it 2, 3, 5 times, as many times as you need to, then you're going to know where the collections actually spawn. Like, this is the reason why I'm showing you this area, is that I farmed in this area so much that I pretty much know where all the spawn points are. Not just for collections, even for exhibits. And if you do it often enough and long enough, you'll know that too. I know it's not the answer that people are looking for, because it requires a lot of time and a lot of patience. Because roughly all you're doing, you're flying around in circles and you're going from spawn point to spawn point, hoping that either collections or exhibits will be there. For exhibits, I guess it's not. Exhibits sadly are no longer as valuable as they used to. But if you do a bit of crafting, you're still going to want to gather the exhibits. And if you sell a big enough stack, you can still make a few bucks with exhibits. So again, there's no miracle, there's no magical formula. You have to fly around and gather whatever collections you can gather. Sometimes there's one up here. I know you waste a lot of time coming all the way up here, but when you go back down, usually you can see on the rooftops. Sometimes they'll help you spot one of the collections that could be on the rooftop. Didn't happen this time, but it happens more often than not. And of course, you also have to go all the way down to street level, because there are some collections that spawn at street level. And then you go back up. It's pretty much that simple. You have to fly around, and you go from spawn point to spawn point, hoping that there will be collections there waiting for you. Sometimes you get a lot of collections quickly. Sometimes you can go around for 10, 15 minutes and not see a single collections. It happens. Some of the collections seems to have a longer spawn time. I'm not sure why exactly. Like sometimes in this area, I'll get in 15 minutes, I'll get a whole bunch of collections, and sometimes in 15 minutes, I'll get no collections. Not sure why that is, but it happens. So again, don't just farm for collections. Farm for exhibits if you need to have some exhibits to do a bit of crafting. You could still sell exhibits again on the broker, but exhibits are not worth what they used to be. So sometimes, sadly, you will see it will take you quite a long time to farm and farm and farm to gather some cash. But sadly, that is how you can make some cash in this universe online. There are other ways, but this is the easiest way, I suppose. Like another example would be to farm, let's say, the anniversary event missions. There's a few. There's like a daily mission that you could farm. The problem with the daily mission is that either you'll have to use replay badges to farm and farm and farm that mission, hoping to get a valuable collection. And sadly, a lot of the anti-monitor event collections are worthless, and the very few that are worth something either seems to be really rare, or I was really, really unlucky and I didn't get that many of those. I think I got like two, maybe three that were worth like 3 millions, and pretty much everything else was worth less than $1,000, and a lot of them even less than $50 or sometimes. But again, there's no miracle to it. There's no magical formula. There's no way I can tell you just click on the square button 3 times and you'll get collections. You have to take the time to fly around, gather collections that you find, and then go to the broker and sell those collections. So as you saw, we've been going around, and sadly, we weren't that lucky. We didn't get that many so far. It happens. Again, it will require a lot of time and a lot of patience, and I know that a lot of people aren't willing to do that. Which is why you have people who have $100 million, and you have people who can't even get $10,000. So this is pretty much the spot where I like to farm for collections. Let's go check a few other spots. Oh, one last one, and we'll go somewhere else to show you a bit. Another place where you can farm for collections is around Steelworks. Some valuable collections are here because basically in this area there are 2 sets of collections that will allow you to get 2 free amenities. I forget which amenities that is, but I will make a video about that at some point. Basically, you can purchase amenities in the marketplace, but you can also farm for various collections to get those amenities for your lair. So around Steelworks is pretty much one of those places where you could go to farm for those collections, and some of those collections are somewhat valuable. Another good place where you can get valuable collections is Striker Island. The only drawback with Striker Island is that it is a pretty big place, so you will have to fly around quite a lot in order to find those collections. So there's a whole bunch of places in the prison itself, but there's also let's go down a bit. There's also a whole bunch of collections that you can get around the island. So it's, as I mentioned, it's a pretty big area to cover. One thing that can help is put the volume all the way up. It helps you hear the collections. So if you fly around and you somehow don't see it, if you hear it, it's going to help you find where the collection actually is. Well, it will tell you first that there is a collection nearby, and then with the audio, you're going to be able to get the collection. So ideally, you want to look around, but also you want to listen for those collections. And again, the reason why there's valuable collections here is that some of those collections will allow you to get two amenities for your lair. Again, I forget which amenities these are, but don't worry, I'll probably make a follow-up video about the amenities before long. So again, you can, let's say you do one pass where you look around the island. Not sure if this was supposed to lead to a mission at some point. Seems like it could, but never seen it so far. So you could do like one sweep around the island to see if there's any collections there, and then you go back inside the prison. Again, it's a pretty big place, so you do have to fly around a bit. But again, if you set your volume way up, you should be able to hear some of those collections if they actually did spawn. And that is something you do as much as you can. And as I mentioned, you're not going to be selling just one collection. You're not going to be able to, you're not going to farm for 5 minutes, get one collection, and sell that one collection $100 million. It doesn't work like that. You have to gather a whole bunch of them. You sell them for as much as you can at the time, and that is how you manage to gather some money after a while. But again, takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. Oh, there's a whole bunch of prisoners there. Oh, I'm a little sad. I thought we would get some nth metal. Again, nowadays you can farm not just for collections, you can farm for nth metal as well. Another thing you can farm for is catalysts. Catalysts are pretty much in demand right now. People need catalysts for their artifacts. The problem is with farming for catalysts. Catalysts are valuable, but you have to either use replay badge to replay the missions, or you have to use many characters. Like you can farm for catalyst using if you have a lot of alts like alternate characters like myself. Yeah, I could use my alternate characters to farm for catalysts. But the problem with that is that you can only farm for a limited amount. As opposed to collections, collections you can farm and farm and farm for as much as you want and gather as many as you need. And also, one thing I would suggest is wherever you're going to farm for collections, ideally have a base right there where you can go to sell your collections. Two other places when you can farm for collections, where you can find valuable collection, is also around Ace Chemicals. Around Ace Chemicals, again, you have two sets of collections that will give you amenities for your lair. And there's also Arkham Island. Arkham Island is probably the last place I would suggest to farm for collections. The simple reason for that is that the spawn point, the reason for that is that the amount of collection that spawns seems to be really, really low. Whenever I try to farm for collections on Arkham Island, holy crap, it would take me forever to get a single collection. And it's not even because there were other players farming for the same collections. Sometimes I would go there at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., where there was no one else on Arkham Island but me. I was the only one farming for collections there. And still, after 15, 20, an hour, either I didn't get a collection or I get like one collection. So, Arkham Island, probably the last place I would farm for collections. And again, wherever you decide to farm for collections, if you have a base nearby that you can go to, that would be a good idea. That way you can save yourself the trouble because you're going to go to your base, sell collections, then go back to farm, go to your base, sell collections, go back to farm. So ideally, if your base is right there. So once you did a lot of farming and you have a whole bunch of collections in your inventory, you go to the broker and you try to get as much money as you can for those items. It's something I mention all the time, but I have to repeat it. Prices on the broker changes all the time. Sometimes people will ask me, how much can I ask for a certain item? And the true answer is that I don't know, because the prices on the broker changes all the time. Like right now, let's see how much this little item is worth. Like right now, the used force field generator sells for about 195,000. Again, there's two ways I could put the item for sale. I could put it for sale for 190,000 and hope someone will buy it before long. If you decide to farm and farm and farm for collections, you will accumulate a lot of collections really fast. So your bank will fill pretty quickly. And sadly, there's a limited amount of collections of items that you can sell on a broker. So ideally, if you're going to be farming, let's say you decide today I'm spending all day farming for collections. Well, those collections are going to have to sell as quickly as you're going to farm them, or sadly, you're going to run out of room on the broker in order to be able to sell those collections. And the same will be true for your inventory. If you farm and farm and farm, eventually your inventory will be full, jam-packed of collections. So you want to be able to sell those collections as fast as they come in. If you're not in a hurry and you don't mind having your inventory filled with collections for a long time, then sure, try to sell them. Like right now, someone is asking 195,000. So I could ask 190,000 for those collections. But let's say I decided that today I'm going to be farming for collections. But I need to sell those collections quickly because I will have a whole bunch of other collections to sell really soon. So usually if I'm going if I want items to sell quickly, as a rule of thumb, I'll ask half the price that is asked on the broker. So in this case, the person is asking 195,000. So let's go for 100,000. So let's look at there's another one here. Let's look at this one first. So you can see here I'm already selling a whole bunch at 10,000 and they didn't sell just yet. So we're gonna wait before we put that one up. Let's see the mug. 150,000, 55,000. Now let's put it at 80,000. Again, it may not seem like much, but if you sell 100 of those, you made a lot of money. So let's go with our Mr. Miracle collection. 18,000. In this case, let's go for 10,000. Oh, well, we saw that one. 18,000. Well, let's go for 10,000. There's a few things that will influence the price that I will ask for. If it's an item that it's more that I know that there's a big demand for, I will ask for more than half. I'll ask for maybe as much as 2/3 of the price. If there's an item that's a really old item that has very little demand, that not that many people seems to be looking for, I could ask as little as 1/3 of the price. Like in this case, I would really be tempted to ask only for 5,000 for the Metropolis Meteor's Pennant because it's an old item. Not that many people still need it. So I'm not sure if it's going to sell. And even at 5,000, not even sure if it's going to sell. Also, sometimes you will see items that people will ask a lot of money for, and those items are not worth that much money. Sometimes you'll see someone put an item for 100,000, and that's a really, really common item. So you know that at 100,000, it's not going to be selling. So you ask for less than that when that happens. Sometimes I'll see items that are worth at most 1,000, and people will ask for 100,000 for it. So when that happens, don't try to put it at that price. Just put it at the price you think is right. Like this is a pretty old one, so let's go for 10,000. Again, ideally what you want to put those items at a price that will sell really, really quickly so that you can put more items on sale a bit later. Because if you decide to farm for collections, you are going to be farming, farming, and farming. So you don't want those items to sit in your on the broker for too long. Because you want to be able to come back with a whole bunch of other items and you want to be able to sell those items. And sadly, there's a limit to how many items you can sell on the broker. And as you can see, I purchased additional broker slots. Like right now I can sell up to 65 items. I could also use my alternate characters. I could sell, let's say, 20 items with this character, or I could sell 65 items with this characters, then give a whole bunch of items to another character, and that character could try to sell those items, but then you end up having to trade items between characters, and that is a bit of a pain in the butt. So again, sadly, there is no magical formula to making money. All you can really do is farm and farm and farm for valuable items, put those items on the broker, and hope they sell. At 5,000, it sold pretty quick. And ideally, they will sell almost as fast as you put them up for sale. So it will allow you to farm for more items and sell those items. Again, you could try to do the opposite thing. You could try to farm just for a few items, try to sell for those items for as much money as you can. But in the end, all that really matters is that the only way you're going to make a lot of money is by selling a lot of items on the broker. And all those items will add up. I know that's not what a lot of you want to hear. A lot of you want to hear some magical solution that allows you to make $100,000, $100 million in very little time. There's no such magical formula. The only real way to make money in this universe online is to farm and farm and farm for valuable items and sell those on the broker. Right now, valuable items are mostly valuable collections. Again, yes, you could farm for the Ultraman Cape. Sadly, the Ultraman Cape is a rare drop, and unless you're willing to use replay badges, you can only run that mission once a week. The same with Catalyst. Right now, Catalysts are a really good source of income. If you get Catalyst, you can sell them on the broker for a good chunk of money. But again, if you want to farm and farm and farm for catalysts, it's something you can only do once a week unless you're willing to use replay badges or unless you have a whole bunch of alternate characters. And even with alternate characters, you have basically you have a limited amount of characters. So there's a limited amount of time that you can actually farm for catalysts. So one of the things that you can farm until infinity is collections, which is why personally this is what I use to make money. Whenever I need a bunch of cash, it's pretty simple. I fly around Metropolis, gather all the collections I can, sold those items on the broker, and that is how I can make some money. I tried with, again, as I mentioned, I tried with the anniversary event. Basically, I've been playing the anniversary event with a handful of characters pretty much every day. So the daily mission that allows you to get a couple of collections sadly keeps on giving me crap. And even the weekly missions we can do only once a week. Those didn't give me valuable collections either. A lot of the collection I get are worth less than $1,000, some yeah, less than $50 playing the anniversary event. So I had to go back and farm in Metropolis in order to get some valuable collections and in order to be able to get at least a bit of cash. Basically, there's a few collections that I need to purchase from the broker, and I thought naively that selling the collections from the anniversary event would be enough to give me the money I needed, and that's nowhere near the case. So I had to go back to the tried and true method that I know. Go to Metropolis, farm for collections, and sell those on the broker. So that's pretty much it for now, guys. So again, sorry if it's not the answer that you guys are hoping for. I know that you guys are hoping for an easy way to make a lot of money, and sadly, there's no such thing as an easy way. All you can really do again is farm for valuable items and sell those items on the broker. And the only valuable items I know of that you can farm and farm and farm to infinity are the collections. Yeah, the farming for collections doesn't require you to spend replay badges. It doesn't require you to use alternate characters. You can do all that with a single character. So again, it may not seem like much, 20,000, 10,000, but if you sell 100 of those, you made a lot of money. So that's pretty much it for now, guys. So as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.